Good morrow, nerds! This week on the LarpHouse, we are doing something a little different. We are getting up close and personal with your lizard, mermaid, paladin, matriarch host, me. I am going to talk about how LARP helps cure my anxiety. Social anxiety, general anxiety, and even death anxiety. In case you couldn't tell, I have anxiety. For some credible input, I am tagging in Tara Myers, a mental health professional from the Center for Evidence-Based Treatment in Southern California.
Hello, my name is Tara Myers, and I've known Cheyenne for about 2 years now.
She specializes in borderline personality disorder, trauma and PTSD, and anxiety. Everybody say hi, Tara. So here we go. A couple years ago, I was basically a hermit. I went to classes and came straight home, and that was my life. Talking to people stressed me out. I basically gave up talking to anyone that I didn't already know extremely well. And I just moved to California, so physical people that I knew extremely well, not many. Parties, crowds, bars, each of them were their own fresh levels of hell. One time I dressed up for Talk Like a Pirate Day, took a picture, and then proceeded to stay inside for the entire day, even though there were free donuts outside. Because there were people outside too.
What Cheyenne is describing are symptoms of social anxiety disorder, which is a disorder in which the DSM-5 characterizes as intense fear of unknown situations or people in which the individual fears that he or she will be judged or scrutinized. Exposure to the situation almost always causes anxiety, in which the individual will then attempt to avoid the situation or will endure with extreme anxiety. The person realizes that the fear is unreasonable or excessive, but the fear blocks out cognitive processes. In other words, the person can't think their way out of anxiety. Individuals with social anxiety disorder are not simply shy. It is a debilitating disorder which interferes with social and occupational functioning.
That being said, I loved the idea of LARPing. I had seen the movie Role Models when it came out, and instead of thinking, wow, what a bunch of nerds, I thought, wow, what a bunch of nerds. I wanted to make the costumes and do the makeup so badly that even though I was afraid of people, I joined a small fighter practice run by a couple local LARPers. This was so I could meet some people in a small group first. And they were very kind and encouraged me to go to my first game. I NPC'd as a mafia kingpin from the 1920s at a LARP storytelling convention called WeirdCon. Looking back, WeirdCon was a great way to introduce myself to LARP because of all the local games playing at the same time in the same place. It was so easy for anxious little me to just pop in and try one out and then leave. But the amazing thing I learned that weekend was this. I could interact at whatever depth I chose. I didn't have to be outgoing, I just had to be whatever the game designers needed. Usually scared or angry villagers, which were easy to play, or monsters that wore masks, so it didn't even matter. I got to interact with a lot of people, and it was completely safe, because if any judgments were made, it was their characters making judgments about my characters, not them making judgments about me. And I knew I was being ridiculous because I was hypnotized to be angry at the players for literally no reason. I just blamed them for everything that went wrong in my peasant life, and it ended up being hilarious. Tara Myers would later tell me that this type of activity is actually a component for treatment for anxiety called exposure therapy.
Marshall Linehan from DBT talks about emotions loving themselves, so they really want to act out, whereas fear and anxiety would want to avoid. She has a skill called opposite action to emotion, in which you do the complete opposite. So rather than avoiding, you go towards it all the way. And it has to be really big because you're trying to be opposite to the emotion. So LARPing is very big in nature. I mean, it is all the way. And I don't think you could probably do it very timidly. So you're really doing that opposite action.
After WeirdCon, I had made exactly one new friend, and he became my buddy that came with me to some real weekend-long LARPs. The people in the community were so ridiculously welcoming and goofy that I decided eventually to make a character instead of just NPCing. Petra is my character's name, and she is basically a female version of Peter Pan. Infallible self-confidence, brave, pure of heart, guides souls of lost children to the afterlife. You know, nothing weird. She's a feral, magical girl in full black plate armor. And faking perfect self-confidence actually gave me a lot of real confidence. Flawless. After about a year of playing Petra, I noticed one day that I wasn't worrying about what people would think of me. And I haven't really worried about it since. After a while, though, the general anxiety reared its head, because that's how an anxiety disorder can work. When you solve one type, another can get worse. I'd get it when the sun went down, and I was just a horrible mess of crying and doom feelings. Death anxiety also made its grand entrance at this time, but more on that later. So when all that started to happen, playing Petra, a being who has never even heard of anxiety, started to seem really taxing and difficult. It started to feel like a lie. So I tried something. Someone Petra loves very much was kidnapped, and after her usual charge in and murder everything immediately response, I decided to give her a real panic attack after the character had been rescued and everything had calmed down. She's usually a pretty goofy character, so I took her anxiety to a whole new level. It's like I can see every possible future and they're all terrible. Oh my goodness, what's happening to me? Please let this be magic. To the point where it was comical. And something incredible happened. I felt instant relief. Overacting my real problems in a safe setting gave me this unexpected release that medication hadn't given me. It was a huge breakthrough, and it started my climb out of the pit.
So for panic disorder, we'd have them actually jump up and down or do something to get the heart rate up, and that would be exposure to similar physical sensations of panic, which might induce the thoughts and feelings associated with panic disorder. So by acting it out, you really are retraining your brain that it's okay.
And now for the whopper, the kingpin, the boss battle, death anxiety. I won't say what triggered it here, but it happened suddenly and without any precedent, kind of like being hit full in the face with the power of a semi-truck full of white dwarf stars. Imagine the crushing weight of the inevitable death of you and everyone and everything you've ever loved, as well as the impermanence and the unimportance of the human race all hitting you in the exact same moment. It was like being shown the Matrix. I didn't go outside for a month. I didn't drive for twice that long. If all the terrible new things I was now afraid of didn't kill me, I was certain that the terror would do the job all by itself. I was stuck in this sick catch-22 of not wanting to live any longer because of the crushing weight of my own mortality. I felt completely alienated from anyone who somehow displayed the ability to keep themselves from constantly screaming in existential dread. I had periods where it would become so intense that I would experience memory loss for up to half a day at a time. I was rendered completely incapable of functioning for months, and I tried everything. I tried reaching out to my friends. I tried hardcore medication. I literally tried turning to Jesus. And when none of that worked, at the insistence of my family, I tried going to therapy. That's actually when I met Tara Myers and began my very slow ascent from the void.
The fear of death is often a problem with individuals with anxiety because of the uncertainty involved. Treatment involves acceptance of the uncertainty and not trying to avoid or control.
One thing that helped me a lot was, surprise, to remember Petra. One of Petra's key traits is that she is not human and she will never die of old age. I remember thinking that if everything else in the universe gets old and dies, Petra could still be out there being a wonderful idiot in the distance. Even just as a concept, Petra will outlive me, but Petra is just a couple parts of me turned up to 11, so it was my tiny mockery of an afterlife. It wasn't much, and I'm fully aware that it's a construct of my own mind for the sole purpose of self-preservation, but it helped. So, thanks to having an immortal character, my newfound LARP friends being there for me, and therapy, I'm so much better now. And I have been for almost a year. I've got some weird quirks because of it, like a deep fear of outer space and an even deeper fear of theoretical physics, but even those things are getting milder and won't send me back to the void. If I cry, it is because I have seen a cute dog. If I'm having a panic attack, it's in character. I'm not worried about embarrassing myself or what other people will think of me. And I'm not worried about my future. I am still and may always be an anxiety-prone person, but LARP and therapy have given me the tools I need to navigate anxiety-provoking situations with drastically improved distress tolerance, and the ability to laugh my ass off at how scared of literally everything I used to be. So I guess you guys have a little insight as to why I started the show. I want to help the community that helped me when I needed it the most. So if you have anxiety in addition to therapy, I recommend giving LARPing a try. If you have a lot of social anxiety, you can do what I did and play a character with perfect self-confidence. Hello, new friend, I'm Petra. Or you can play a character that also has social anxiety. Exaggerate it. Try like screaming and yelling every time you meet a new person. Hi, I'm Petra. As your character becomes more comfortable with themselves in the world, you might too.
If anyone wants more information on anxiety or to find a CBT or DBT trained therapist, please contact me at www.centerforebt.com. And in case you haven't figured it out, I do too suffer from social anxiety disorder. The difference is that it doesn't interfere with my life in any way anymore.
That's it for this week, my beautiful nerds. Congratulations, you have unlocked Friendship Level 5, Partial Backstory. If you like what you see and want to see more, please consider making a small pledge to our Patreon page. There are pretty cool rewards for those who pledge a little more. We are also on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Facebook. We're everywhere, so please like us or something. I'm like Tinkerbell, I live on applause. Remember, as always, like us, subscribe to us, fight with us. Let's try that without weird hands. Let's try that. Let's try that.
Are not simply shy. It is a disability.